practice management software built for modern law firms. Your practice performance matters.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along to session 2 of Caseload Coaching. Now, some of you were here last week, but some of you are here for the first time. So I'll give you a short overview of what this is and what we're hoping to achieve from hosting these sessions with you, our partners. Before I do that, I'll introduce myself. I'm Grant Yule. I'm the Head of Marketing and Customer Engagement here at De Novo. Myself and the team are in the process of finding the best methods of engaging and interacting with yourselves to really get the most out of the software. And this in turn should allow you to not only educate yourselves, but have the opportunity to educate your teams about Caseload and De Novo in general, really. Hosting this session is just one of the steps we're taking to ensure you have as much visibility over what's going on at De Novo as possible. As explained in session 1, each week we'll aim to provide a brand new platform that allows you to build your own knowledge. Take that info, educate your teams, plus you might even get to see something that you didn't know actually exists within the software. In turn, we hope this will allow you to run your businesses more efficiently. Now, I'm here again with my colleague Stephen Hill, our Operations Director. Stephen and the team are spending a good chunk of this week actually out on site with some of our partners, supporting the changeover to Caseload and providing some others with a more in-depth demo of all the new features within the software. Things are really starting to pick up, folks, and lots of firms now interested in making the change. If you haven't already, I would encourage you to reach out to us and start talking to us about starting that process. Details of how to do that will be shared at the end. Now, we had a very positive first session introducing matter management last Wednesday. The attendance shows us that there is definitely an appetite to learn more about Caseload and the features that exist within it. So in this session, we're going to be focusing on email integration. And the agenda for today. So we'll focus a little bit on email integration. We'll talk about some of the benefits. We'll dive straight into the Caseload session itself. We'll have a Q&A similar to last week. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them throughout. We will stop when we can, and any we don't get to, we'll cover at the end once we get to the Q&A section. We'll talk about the upcoming sessions over the next few weeks, a bit about how you can get in touch with us, and then how you can watch this session as the webinar itself is being recorded again. As mentioned, this session is about introducing you to email integration. It's focusing on how integrating your Office 365 email with Caseload can be a simple and powerful feature which takes the organisation of your correspondence and attachments to the next level. So benefits include importing your emails to matters quickly and efficiently, replying to emails to speed up correspondence with your clients, and the ability to send calendar appointments to Outlook so you never miss important appointments again. Now, I'll hand you over to Stephen, who will talk to you about we'll talk to you about the integration within Caseload. And Stephen, over to you.
Thanks very much, Grant. So let's dive into the software, and then we're going to have a wee look at some of the setup features first. So in the top left-hand corner of Caseload, there's this little phone book style icon. Clicking on that icon will bring you some preference screens. These are important because as we find out later on, there will become reasons as to why we would set these up in the first place. Looking at the events preferences here, you can see the first selection is when importing my inbox default events to. So this is really important. So if you're importing emails from your inbox to Caseload, this will allow you to select what you would want the default event type and subtype to be. That can be changed as you go along. As you do a new event, you can also do that as well. But I would typically say you're going to be looking at correspondence, letter, email, fax, received, or in. You will have your own types already in the system. You would just select which one of those you wanted to have in there. Same with sent items. you're going to typically want to show correspondence, letter, email, fax sent out. And we will talk a little bit later on about importing calendar items. Those will typically be meetings. If you're a court lawyer or fee earner, you may choose a court type appointment that you would want to select in there. Further on, you'll see when sending emails through Caseload, I prefer to use Outlook. This is a preference I've switched on for the purpose of this demo, and you'll see much deeper integration with Outlook as we run through the session. Next option in here, when importing one item at a time, allow the event summary to change. I know a lot of you don't like the subjects that people send emails through. They can be one word, they can not mean very much to the person reviewing the file. So we have the option within there to change the summary to something a bit more relevant to what you'd want to see on the case. A couple of other options in there about departmental standard phrases and event tags I've also switched on. This is something you can do as you move through the system. On the left hand side here, just in here, if your email address isn't showing, if you're already using Caseload and your email address isn't showing here, get in touch, we'll get that set up so you can start to import emails in. It's a very straightforward process to get that tested and saved to make sure then you can start to feel the real benefit of importing emails into the system. So once all that's done, the last important step in this page is click Save Changes. That will apply those settings and restart Caseload for you with everything configured the way you would want it to be. So a little bit of first time setup, but well worth the while because it helps you further along as you get used to using the system. So going back, I didn't change anything there, so there's no need to save changes on this occasion. We'll quickly dive into the Import from Outlook button. This appears on the top menu bar here. Just click on that and you see a wee short message there to say it was retrieving new items for Office 365. This is a very dynamic bit of the application. It's searching constantly for new emails, either in or out. And I'm going to show you the first port we're going to look at in here is how you navigate your mailbox from within here. So these here are all items that have came in to this particular user account's inbox. Clicking on the drop down, you're able to see other folders. So sent items to see emails that have been sent out, and other options like subfolders. So for instance, I've got a convention residential subfolder here which I've saved an email in, just the one email in there. But I know user preference can be, some people prefer to use inbox, some people prefer to send email straight to a subfolder. So we built that option in that you can have access to all the folders within Outlook application that you're used to within here. So if we just jump back to inbox, you'll see on the left hand side little tick boxes. That allows you to select the email that you're going to import to the right hand side. We'll focus on this right hand side just in a wee second. The little eye icon, you may be wondering what that's for. That allows you to preview the email. So if I hover over the eye and move across, you'll see, I can see what this email was about. That helps you put the email into context and know where to save it into the Caseload system. Clicking away from the screen removes that preview. The green tick boxes, you may be asking what they're for. They are to show that the email with the green tick has already been saved into the de novo system. So you're able to see on a day-to-day basis, hour by hour basis, whether you've sent the emails already into Caseload or whether you haven't. The context type, that's quite important. So the first context type I'm going to click on today is clients. And we talked last week, and for anyone that didn't tune in last week, we do have recents and favourites built into the system. So if I'm clicking on recents, you see the full list of recent clients that I've been working on. If there's more than one client, for example, in a couple, there is a little plus button and you can click that and that will give you the two options of who to contact. Now, these are all clickable. So if I wanted to see the details for this one, for example, you can see it does bring up the person's details. I can add more information in there. So it gives you a bit more of the CRM functionality that you have within the full application, even at this level here. That's at client level, and you'll see the event status is an actual event, and the event type is the ones that we'd selected in the preference screen earlier. As I mentioned, those can be changed for individual email imports. The next option down is event tags. Event tags are a way of you tagging a certain email or event correspondence with a type that you can then search on later on. So if we were going to import one of these emails on the left, and I was going to say that's an incoming mail, for example, I would select that as the event tag. I would click on that email, and we're using drag and drop functionality to save that against that client there. Now, because we're only importing one email at this point, we do have the option to change the summary in there. If you're importing more than one email, it doesn't allow you to change the summary. You can then do it later on in the event, but for the purpose of importing email, it will just take the subject matter, which is saved in here. This one I'm just going to leave as it is and send it. So that's now imported in there at client level. Now, the majority of people possibly don't work at client level, so let's move on to the matter part of that. So again, with the matters, we can click on recents, we can click on favourites, and it will show just the ones that are recents and favourites. The little person icon is in here as well, so if you were a fee earner and you wanted to save emails just to your matters, you would click on the little person icon and it will just bring in the ones you've been working on that are assigned to you as the fee earner. That full matter window is available, so you see that will scroll across with more information, sorry about that, to see who the fee earner is on these particular matters. So, and again, from here, you do have the option to double click on the matter and go straight in to see some of the details. Same idea in here to save the information in. I'm going to click on a recent one and go in there. The import from Outlook button is also in at matter level. So if I wanted to save an email direct to this matter, I would click on import from Outlook, and you'll see it brings up the same window options as before. What you can then do there is just click again, choose the contact if there is one, enter the summary. So you might want to just say email in. Event tags are here as well. So again, we can tag that one. Click OK. Now you may notice there's a post time option on there as well. Time is something we will cover in a future session, but to give you the idea to what that kind of sneak preview, if you like, of what that's going to look like, when you click on post time, you'll see it defaults to fee earner and picks up some of the information. So I could mark that as a email in or out and click post time. And then when I import the email, that's importing the email and also updating the job charge at the same time. So I know that email has been charged against the client for what I want to do. Looking at the events view then, since I have just imported a couple of emails in here, I'll explain how you would then view those emails that you've tagged. So the tag drop down appears just under the find bar here as well. And you can click on that and select incoming mail. In fact, maybe I didn't select it. In fact, I know what I've done wrong. Incoming mail, OK, and then search. And it should bring them up. If I put, in fact, I'm in at the wrong level, that's what it is. So apologies for that. See, I make mistakes the same way that you do. So you can have enhanced event tag information in there as well. Let's go back to a matter. I'm just going to pick one I've been working on recently. So there's a lot of events in here. The import from Outlook button is in there. And what we can do in here is email these events out from within here. So we can go into the event yet, and we have other options in the email event, but what we've also got here is right-click options. So if we right-click on this one, you can say email the event, which will just email the details of what we've said in this event here about this letter. We can email the event with the attachment, which will bring up the event with the attachment, or we can reply by email with attachment. So what I'm going to do in this instance is select email this event with this attachment. And you'll see any saved email correspondence contacts will show up in this list. So if I wanted to send it to that one there, I would just pick the one I wanted to send it to, click OK, and this will create an Outlook email to the client, and it will send it with this reference here and the attachment. So I'm just going to send that one just now. And that's that gone. So if I go back, that's now been sent out. If I then go into that email, that event, sorry, you see it's got the reference now added, so I know that that's been set out. What we've got in here now down the bottom is a further email audit panel. So clicking on that will let you know that this event has been sent out to the client. It will tell you when it was sent, who it was sent by, and who it was sent to. So to avoid spamming anybody, it's just going to me. So you do get that information feedback from Outlook to say, yeah, I've sent that email out and I've received that. That's gone to the client. We could have done that in this window here as well. So if we wanted to add any attachments, we would add our attachments in here like we discussed last week. So import from files, we'd do that from the desktop, import from Outlook if you had more emails. So I'm going to pick up this TOB and I'm going to add an attachment from the file. There we go. So I'm going to pick up these couple of guidelines and I'm going to import them in. Just a couple of PDF documents. These are just to show examples of what you can do. And then I'm going to email that event with attachments. That works exactly the same way as it did before. Click on the name, select OK, and you'll see it's got those other attachments that I'm going to send out to the client with the reference field in there. And I'm going to send those out. Back at the, sorry, so we then go back. The other thing I wanted to talk about is on the main import from Outlook window, when emails are being sent with the reference, we do not have to select a matter context type, a matter account to save it in. So this email here that was sent with the reference, it was sent from within Caseload to a client. Caseload knows when that email reply comes back in that it can click on that and drag it over to the blank area click OK, and it knows based on the reference which client and matter to save that to. So I know that that's now been saved against the client. If I click OK, we'll just double check. We'll go to purchase of 11 George Street, click on events, and there we go. So I already had version 1, 2 and 3 in there, and I've now just saved in version 4 based on the email that I've just imported in. So as you can see, I didn't select matter or client in that main window. Because the reference field was already there, I just clicked and dragged it across, and it then saved it in against the particular client. So there's a lot of functionality there with importing emails. As you send information out from Caseload, it makes it much easier to retrieve that information back in when the reference field is there and bringing the emails in. Moving on to the event view, you see I've got a few court appointments here that are planned events for today. So if I was to pick this one here, so I've got the court appointment, it's in my court diary, and I want to just send it to my Outlook diary. All I have to do is click on send to my calendar. There's in fact a wee reminder popping up of one that I sent earlier. Your event has been successfully sent to your calendar. Okay, so if I then nip into Outlook and look, you'll see that's added to my event calendar for today. So I can use Outlook on the go to check my calendar appointments and see what I have on that day. The other options we've got within Caseload, if you go back to an account and you wanted to create a new event. So what we're going to do, new event, you can see we can just do a straight email to the client from there. That just picks up the email address with the subject matter description. So you could just type something in there and send that email off to that particular client. And what that then does is it packages it up as an event. So although we've not selected new event, doing the new email to client sends the email straight to the client, but also sends packages that into an event and saves that against the matter as well, because we've done that within the matter window. The other option, and this may be an option for a secretary, for example. So a secretary's been asked to do a dictation. So we'll just say dictated email. So they've prepared the email, they've put a summary, because they're going to send that email out, and they would then make that a planned event and select a fee earner. So what will then happen is that particular fee earner will get a notification to say, you've been assigned this event, the secretary's dictated an email to be sent to a client, and all the fee earner then has to do is open up the planned events, see this as an event, check the details. If they're happy with that, they would just click on email event, and that would just get sent out with the reference to the particular client. So it means that the correspondence takes place within Caseload. There's always visibility there of that. It's not sitting in someone's Outlook waiting to be sent, or the fee earner's draft folder waiting to be sent. There's always that visibility. So if the worst happens and someone's off sick, or the coronavirus strikes, then we know that you can send the planned events that have to be sent to the email because they've been saved within Caseload. So just going back a wee stage now. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover from import from Outlook. Grant's just going to have a little check to see if we do have any. It's a bit scary, that.
Yeah, well, hopefully that was clear for everyone again this week. We said at the beginning that if anyone wanted to ask some questions, they can do. We've got a couple that have came through. So the first one, which I think we might have covered, but we can revisit, is can you email multiple attachments out?
You can. Let me just cover that here. So we'll jump into this purchase matter and have a look at events. So what we have here is the option to select events to email, which will allow you to select multiple events. So if I wanted to email out this attachment, and this attachment, you'll see I've selected the three, and I'm then going to click the email button again and say email event attachments, and that will bring those up as separate documents to be attached to that email. Now at this point you can send it from within here. You can also add previous matter correspondence from the database here as well. So if you've checked that these three are the ones that you want, but you think, oh, there's something else I wanted to add in, you can then go and select them as well. So if you knew that you wanted to send one of those initial letters that had been sent, you can click OK on that, and it will add that into the bottom of the email. You would then type the address in there to who you want to send it to, and just hit send email. It's asking me for a subject, which I'll just put in there. And that's that email now going out to the client with the multiple attachments.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the explanation, Stephen. So the second question that we've had is, can you still use send to de novo?
Yeah, certainly. The Caseload applications can run side by side. So the familiar blue ball where you would go into your Outlook and pick an email and click the send to de novo button, that will still exist. That's not going to disappear, so you can still do that, as well as being able to send import emails using Caseload. We just find Caseload works a wee bit quicker and gives you a bit more visibility, especially with the drag and drop functionality. I think that really takes it a wee stage further in terms of how you can handle importing emails into the system.
Okay, thank you very much again for the explanation. We don't have any more questions coming through at the moment. Just give it a few seconds longer, see if anyone feels the urge.
Yeah, Q&A button is available for anyone that does want to pop in with a question. But maybe we've covered everything.
It's just been a fantastic explanation, Stephen. I think that's it, really.
Of course.
Okay. Okay, so great, guys. Listen, thanks for those couple of questions. We hope that you got the answers that you were looking for. So just so you're all aware, we're going again next week. As we mentioned last week, the sessions will take place same day, same time, Wednesdays at 3:30. Next week we'll be focusing on client communication. The following week will be time recording, which I think everyone is quite keen to see, and dashboard reporting, which has been a feature that's been quite heavily developed over the last few months that we're very keen to show you as well. So lots to see over the next few weeks. And as always, we're available to chat anytime. Feel free to drop Stephen, the rest of the team a line. If you have any questions that you need answered over and above what's been shown today, if you are keen to arrange a more in-depth demo or meet with us to discuss anything really, but primarily Caseload in terms of getting a full in-depth demo, please reach out to us. We are sort of ready and raring to go at this end. So once again, session 2 has been recorded. It will be available to watch on our website within the next 24 hours. You'll get a link sent out in an email. So that should be around about 3 p.m. tomorrow that will be released. So you'll be able to watch again and skip through any of the chat that you're not interested in listening to again, and just focus primarily on the Caseload session itself. So that's it for this week, folks. That's the end of the session. Thank you very much again for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we will see you next time for more Caseload coaching. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.